This is the morning of the 12th of November. It just happened again. I spent around 21 minutes on this video, which you really have to watch through its entirety. And when I went to download it, there was nothing there. But this is important. I'll probably do this in two parts to minimize the damage. Plays for about 21 minutes. Again, it'll be done in two parts. Title: 200 FBI agents get revenge on Trump after he fired them seconds ago. Put up by The Voice Reaction. Please watch the entire clip.
All the marble and all the gold in the world cannot plaster over the fact that the American people, by and large, are furious at Donald Trump over his failure to tackle their number one issue, the rising cost of everything. Watch what happens when reality comes to bite Donald Trump in the you-know-what during an interview on Fox News of all places. Watch.
I've been all over the affordability issue today and for the last several months. Eggs, gas, dinner costs for Thanksgiving way down, but other things, as you noted, have gone up. Beef, coffee, auto repairs. Is this a voter perception issue of the economy, or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans on Capitol Hill, or done in terms of policy?
More than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats.
It's a con job.
Laura Ingraham's a lot of things, but even Laura Ingraham knew the answer to the question she asked. And Trump could shush her all he wants. He did. But rising prices isn't a con job cooked up by Democrats, and Laura Ingraham knows that. The price of beef is up 14.2%. The price of coffee is up 15.3%. CNN reports this, quote, prices increased from January to September in 5 of the 6 overarching groups of grocery prices tracked by the federal government's Consumer Price Index. Donald Trump has never, ever, ever had a grasp of any of the facts, but particularly those around the cost of things for normal people, or even the realities of the way normal Americans live. Here's what happened when Laura Ingraham brought up some of the pushback to an idea floated by Donald Trump recently. It's the idea of a 50-year fixed mortgage.
A significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you know, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is you pay.
Now, tell me you've never applied for a mortgage without telling me you've never applied for a mortgage. His inability to even get the 30-year fix thing of the answer right, you go from 40 to 50, is a real slip of the mask. And it reflects this yawning gap now that everybody knows about, even his base, between Donald Trump and every other living American. And it's becoming more and more of a liability by the day. On the same day that food assistance was set to expire for more than 40 million Americans, Donald Trump posted these pictures, basically of his DIY reno. Look what I did. I renovated the bathroom and the Lincoln bedroom. It's now covered in statuary marble instead of its historic design. Hours after that, he held an actual Great Gatsby themed party. This is not some smear that the Democrats put on his party. It was actually called A Little Party Never Killed Nobody and had a Great Gatsby theme. That happened as 1.4 million federal workers went without a paycheck. And while that was happening, Donald Trump continued bulldozing and trying to build his giant gilded ballroom constructed on top of the now demolished East Wing, a priceless part of America's collective history. That record is to say nothing of the actual gilding of the Oval Office and other rooms at the White House with gold, at a time when 77% of all Americans, regardless of who they voted for, say they're stressed out about their finances and their economic insecurity. Donald Trump and his crew of uber wealthy cabinet officials and billionaire tech bros keep telling us and showing us that they couldn't give a rat's behind that the American people.
All right, here's where everything falls apart for Trump. The American people aren't imagining anything. Prices are up. And even Fox News said it right in front of him. Beef is up.
And we had Don't run, Mondani. There are fights that are going to have to be fought, but that deep down, there is something core in us that we have in common that is extraordinary.
Barack Obama touting unity across the different Democrats who won just a week ago today. The party finding energy and some new faces who inspire people with their own ideas, not simply drafting on the substantial energy against Trump. That is a theme once tapped by another Democrat, seen at the time as liberal, sometimes arguably too liberal, Robert F. Kennedy. His 1968 presidential campaign tried to energize the left against the Democratic establishment, but he also talked about the goal of being about more than opposing any one man.
I do not run for the presidency merely to oppose any man, but to propose new policies. I run because I am convinced that this country is on a perilous course, and because I have such strong feelings about what must be done.
Police say they arrested 4 people. Meantime, Turning Point USA says momentum is growing, and they're planning more events at more campuses in the months ahead. Brett?
Claudia, thank you. Parades and events held around the U.S. today to honor America's veterans. President Trump and Vice President J.D.
Take a look at the picture of Trump. He's got his hand like this. Notice the thumb? He doesn't know the thumb's supposed to be up because he's a dope. Look at his thumb. That's, it's a joke at the 5-minute and 46-second mark. J.D. Vance has got it the right way because he served in the military. Trump has no basis of understanding of anything because he's never had to go to a grocery store.
Vance gave remarks at ceremonies in Washington. Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin reports on today's events and the history of Veterans Day.
Across the country, millions paused to remember those who answered the call to serve this nation, from World War II to the mountains of Afghanistan to today's fighting force.
Everything we have, everything our country has achieved has been purchased by the muscle, spine, and steel of the United States military.
At Arlington National Cemetery, the president and vice president took part in the wreath laying at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Control staffing shortages and bad weather at some big hubs. Today, the number has been less than half that. It's been hovering around 1,200 all day. 70% of that number, though, are the preemptive cancellations that airlines already made to comply with this Trump administration mandate for them to cut flights, to siphon off some of the stress on the national airspace system and air traffic controllers who continue to work unpaid during this government shutdown. The mandate went to 6% today, goes to 8% on Thursday, 10% on Friday. And interestingly, Duffy said that he will be the one to decide when to end this mandated cut to airline schedules, and it won't be the end of the government shutdown, even though the end is now in sight. Listen.
Duffy's an idiot. What they should do is stop private jet travel and private aircraft travel into controlled airspace until this thing settles down. That's what they should do. Instead, this moron's talking to that idiot Pete Hegseth about using military controllers. Military controllers don't speak the same language as commercial traffic controllers. They don't understand the airspace either. The thing's a joke. Let's listen to this moron, Secretary of Transportation.
Hey, this is former Navy SEAL Cade Courtley, and I've got an incredible
ad popped up. Sorry, folks. It just popped these on me.
What we see with our air traffic controllers, good day today. If the House doesn't pass this bill, I think you're going to look at Saturday, Sunday, and Monday as tiddlywinks. It was beautiful. It's going to get much worse than that.
So a pretty big warning there from Secretary Duffy. Naturally, a lot of air traffic controllers I'm talking to are riled by this post on Truth Social by President Trump yesterday, in which he said that air traffic controllers will get a $10,000 bonus if they showed up during the entirety of this government shutdown, but he also invited them to quit if they have not shown up during this government shutdown. Duffy says he's still considering taking action against controllers. They will get 70% of back pay within 48 hours of the end of this government shutdown, Jake.
All right, Piemontine at Reagan National Airport. Thanks. Let's bring in Nick Daniels. He's president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. So first of all, what was your response to the Truth Social post by President Trump yesterday, in which he was really going at air traffic controllers that didn't show up to work, which you and I have already talked about previously many times? A lot of them didn't show up to work because they were, driving Ubers or doing Lyft.
Ability and competence. They are seeing that real leadership is about listening, understanding, and taking concrete actions to address the struggles of ordinary people. And Trump's detachment only emphasizes what he has failed to do. This is a defining moment because the gap between his world and the real lives of Americans is no longer theoretical. It is visible, tangible, and undeniable. The disconnect affects every policy discussion, from healthcare to economic relief to infrastructure, because when leaders are out of touch with the lived experiences of the citizens they govern, the policies themselves fail. And it's not just about Trump. It's about the system he surrounds himself with, from his billionaire advisors to cabinet members who have no understanding of the challenges ordinary Americans face, creating an echo chamber where reality is distorted and the needs of the public are secondary to spectacle.
Vast alleged conspiracy against Donald Trump, going back to the Russia investigation, but then continuing on through the Jack Smith investigations and otherwise. It's a bizarre theory, and I think this just reflects the unease among career prosecutors within the Justice Department about this case. And so Quinones felt compelled to call a meeting of the Major Crimes Unit in his office down there, about 36 lawyers, to try to reassure folks. We don't know exactly what was said in that meeting, but just the fact of the meeting and the fact of the resignations, I think, is a signpost for unease about this case, Anna.
And we're also learning more about what those 30 subpoenas that just went out and the materials that they were after and what was in those subpoenas. So Ken, what can you tell us about that?
Yes, these subpoenas seek information from 2016 and 2017. Normally not something you see in a federal case because there are statutes of limitations. And they seek information related to the intelligence community assessment, emails and text messages and other supporting documents. The intelligence community assessment into Russian election interference in the 2016 election. And what's so significant about this is a special counsel named John Durham already pored over all this material. He already investigated this. He found no wrongdoing. He didn't even find grounds to criticize this assessment when he filed his final report in 2023, yet the Justice Department under Donald Trump is going back at this.
So the U.S. Attorney's Office apparently bypassed standard protocol by having leadership signed off on these subpoenas rather than line prosecutors. Rebecca, how unusual does this seem to you?
Quite unusual. And these sort of departures from normal policy are a sign, a kind of red flag that something has gone wrong. And especially that, along with the resignations, ought to give us pause and make us notice that perhaps something has gone on with improper politicization of the Department of Justice.
Ken, let me come back to you because meanwhile there's some developments in the James Comey case. His defense lawyers just filed a brief arguing that the government's evidence against Comey is, quote, tainted. What's their argument here? What kind of response has the judge provided so far?
I'm going to stop at 11 minute and 31 second mark, and I'll do the second part. Let's hope this downloads.